Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. We have started now season 5 with over 2,000 videos that are viewed and heard around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished professional from Mumbai, India, Mr. Venkatraman Chittur Krishnan. Venkatraman, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Very happy to be here.
Thank you.
I'm very privileged to be part of your podcast environment, which I see that so many accomplished and people of various backgrounds are there.
Thank you. Well, we have one more very accomplished person now when I'm talking to you.
Oh, thank you.
So, by way of introduction, Venkatraman is a leadership coach. So, let's start by talking to you about your journey as a CIO. Tell me about your journey in brief.
Okay. In fact, when I was in my final year of my graduation, I saw an ad for Fortran programming from CSI, Computer Society of India, and I didn't know what a computer was, but it still appeared for the test and got selected. And a new world opened for me then. I was actually graduating in chemistry, physics, and maths. And once I graduated in 79, I was looking for an opportunity to work in this field, and I got into a job as a systems assistant, actually a clerical grade with Indian Pipe. And more or less the job was a lot of manual work, but some amount of programming. But I kept on studying by the side, evening classes. And then I got a full-time break into Union Carbide as a software engineer. And then my career took off in comp science. And finally, I retired in 2019. So if I look at the journey, I can break it up into 4 phases. Phase 1 was purely technical, which is between 79 and 86, which was between Indian Pipe, Union Carbide, and Sandoz, where my job was essentially being a technical contributor and being a team leader, technical team leader. And 86, I joined Hindustan Lever as the IT manager and left in 97, so as senior systems manager. So there I had managed sites, became a senior project manager, and so on and so forth. Then I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers. Between 97 and 2001, I was a function head at PwC first, then at Heinz, so CTO and CIO. Then in 2001, I joined Johnson & Johnson Medical Asia Pacific as South Asia Director and retired in 2019.
Oh, wonderful.
Summary is 40 years of professional experience and 22 years as a C-suite.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your role as the CIO. Tell me, how has the role of the CIO evolved over the years into a C-suite role?
So, CIO, my 40 years, I've seen the whole IT revolution and the CIO evolution.
Correct.
Both in India as and also in the world. So, CIO today is completely strategic. I mean, the CIO, the technology touches every function of the enterprise. And CIO today actually spends more time outside the boundaries of the organization. Either with the competition, with the customer, or with innovation or business process innovation, and so on and so forth. So CIO is extremely strategic. And parallel to that, the managing the internal technology also is going to see change. Today, the CIO actually has partners with cloud hosting companies, uses platform as a service, software as a service, and scales up or scales down the requirements to the business process. So actually, CIO today is already becoming CEO in some fields. Actually, abroad, I think in fintech companies, in banking companies, in logistics companies, the CEOs have gone to CEOs. So that is the extent of evolution which has happened.
Correct. And what would you say is the role of IT, of information technology in healthcare companies?
Okay, now I will restrict myself to Johnson & Johnson healthcare medical devices because that's where I spent 18 years of my life. So role of IT in general is essentially if you deploy IT in a business process which touches key stakeholders, then you have strategic relevance. So for example, in J&J, we had solutions like we have, let's say the 5 stakeholders are 5 Ps: physician, patient, payer, policymaker, and the provider. Provider is the hospital, right? Now, so essentially any application touching one or more of these gives you a benefit. So one thing I want to mention is we had this patient education system, like basically where on the web, you have all the content about diabetes and the obesity, etc., where people can understand it, right? So that is one system. The other system was doctors training. Whenever you launch a new product, the doctors have to be trained on that, surgeon has to be trained on that product. So initially they used to come to brick and mortar, spend some time, and they hate going away from their work. So what we do is split the two things, use technology for him to take the knowledge part of it in his own time, in his own pace, and then come more only for the hands-on training. So that is the second kind of this one. Similarly, we use tablets and online content for detailing with the surgeon. So the applications we can really use to strategize.
Fantastic. Thank you. There's also often a lot of discussion on the human aspects of information technology. I would love to get your perspective, given that you've spent almost your entire life as an IT leader.
So actually, the relationship between the human expectation and the technology deployment has actually gone a full circle. Golden days, we actually used to build systems and push them out, and people used to train themselves and go through the learning curve. Today, people are using technology in all the three spheres of their life, professional, personal, and social, and they expect the system to adjust to them. And the implication for the enterprise systems is that you no longer, instead of inside out, you do outside in design and deployment. You no longer push a system out. You connect to the ecosystem. People are using WhatsApp or we are on social media. You seamlessly connect to that system so that people will use it, right? And I would say that today, the technology savviness has become as basic as reading, writing, and arithmetic. So it has both challenges and opportunities, both for enterprise and for users. So, in fact, there is a very powerful quote by one of the CIO. He said, we don't need a digital technology strategy. We need a business strategy for a digital world. So that is how the all progressiveness of this has happened, So very this is the kind of evolution or flip which has happened.
Fascinating. Very fascinating. And what, according to you, are some of the key success factors in an IT project?
Oh, there are. I will mention about 4 or 5 of them. First one is a clear articulation of purpose and value. That is number one. Number two, clear business sponsorship and ownership. And these two are linked, right? Third thing would be a very robust project governance. Like you can have a sponsor, a steering committee, and the project leader reporting to the steering committee, right? Then fourth thing would be the risk management. The bigger the project, the risk management has to be more overt, and the last one would be the value delivery. In a larger project, if it is going to spread across multiple years, if you are going to deliver value at a chunk of 3 or 4 years, people will be fattening down. So you try to deliver value in chunks as early as possible to keep people motivated. Okay. Finally, of course, the business participation in evolving the business process. So these are some of the things makes a project successful.
Wonderful. Thank you. The next question is that there's a lot of talk about analytics in every business. And analytics itself has become a very, very lucrative career for a lot of young people. What, in your opinion, is the role of analytics in driving business? And give me some examples.
Okay. Analytics, essentially, every organization can leverage analytics provided it is tracking the lead indicators in the market, lead business indicators in the market, right? So I will again give some examples from Johnson & Johnson. Of course, this is also true to FMCG companies, where one is improving forecasting accuracy. Like if your supply chain stops at your third party, let's say distributor, the actual offtake is between the distributor and the end consumer. So your real demand is in the secondary sale happening between the distributor and the retailer.
Correct.
Right? So you tap into that information, and so many things you can do to both improve your manufacturing efficiencies, your logistics efficiencies, and also without sacrificing your customer service. Like you can look at stock in transit, you can look at the purchase patterns, you can look at what new product affecting the new product launches, how they are running, looking at all these patterns more frequently, maybe once in a fortnight or once in a month, and drive all their efficiencies and effectiveness through that. The other interesting analytics we had was something correlating the Salesforce knowledge with the business performance. So we had a very evolved methodology of people going through training and also having on the field supervision and different levels of selling, because especially selling in healthcare. So we correlated that with the sales team, right? To find out what is a combination of the salespeople should be there in the team, which can give the optimum business performance. So it's not that everybody has to be an expert. So there should be a distribution of so many senior people, so many middle level people, and so many rookies in a sales team, which give us engagement and also has the knowledge to this one. So, and the third application I would say is something called in the trauma care, where the trauma accidents which happen all over the country because of accidents, fractures happen.
Right.
So basically, we using the smartphone, the salesman actually captures which doctor is doing what trauma and what product is using, right? And then using that, you can find out what's happening in the market, whether the new products going out are getting used, whether the doctor's preferences are changing, or because he uses a bundle in some of the operations. So whether there's an opportunity for us to replace some of the competition or other companies' product in that. So it was very, very effectively used. So these are some of the analytics.
Amazing. Thank you. My next question before we move to your new avatar as a coach is, what were some of the key IT transformation initiatives that you were a part of, and what kind of business value were you able to unlock?
Okay, the first one is, I'll mention three of them. The first one is something called the Uniplan, which is an IT strategy revamp at Unilever, happened in the 90s. And the key objective was to replace the standalone, disparate IT systems across the country with a seamless best practices businesses and a seamless IT system. Okay. So actually, interestingly, I was not part of the core team. I was a junior manager. It was my boss, two senior managers, and Anderson Consulting. But I put up my hand and asked to be included there, and then I got included. So I could see the transformation happening. We replaced the entire. We looked at the best practices of Asian Paints, Marico, and other excellent companies in India and also some abroad, and revamped our process and then implemented MFG Pro system, which is ERP. It was MRP2 at that time, end to end, so that we have a very smooth working of information. The second thing, trying for transformation, I want to talk about is when I led the integration between Pricewaterhouse and Coopers IT after they merged worldwide. It was more of a cultural issue because the IT systems technology was different. But in India, we have to merge them together, and I had to lead the integration of the team. So cultural and people aspects were more important than technology. Technology was
right.
But we had some hiccups, everything, but we made it. Thanks to my boss, Amal Ganguly, he's the CEO. He realized the importance of this particular integration, and he was very vocal about his support in all forums, attended all the reviews, and so we did that. It was a fantastic. I should see a cultural combination happening. Third one I would like to mention is something called application architecture roadmap in Johnson & Johnson, where worldwide we transformed how we selected application and used applications. So again, the same issue was a lot of wastage, a lot of efficiency. We could not even manage talent. We don't know you to which country has got which talent for technology. So we said that, okay, we'll have a policy by which systems close to the customer will be 2 or 3. Systems away from the system will be only 1. Okay, and for innovation, etc., system can be as needed. In this policy governance, we could actually, that became the subsequent foundation of the enterprise IT itself in the company. So that was a global transformation I witnessed. So these are the 3. I was lucky to be part of these.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great response. Let's talk now about your new avatar as a coach.
Yes.
After a successful corporate career, what made you become a coach?
Okay. Few months before retirement, I was actually thinking of how to contribute back, right, after 40 years of learning so much from so many people. So I had identified leadership development, leadership training, and a bit of consulting as this one. But one of my colleagues pointed out, hey, why don't you look at executive coaching? Because that is another way you can contribute. And as being a part of the C-suite, you've always been, being in talent management or build up teams and that. So that interested me. And then I took a coaching certification and I loved it, and I'm very passionate about it. Having been there for last 3.5 years, I love it. Best way to learn as well as contribute.
Fantastic. So my next question is that how has your own background, and you worked across diverse industries, how has your background supported your own coaching philosophy, your style, and your values?
Okay. First one is the entire leadership input I received across my journey, right? By my mentor was various leaders. So inputs from there. So that helps me also to relate in my coaching about various diverse people I meet here. Second thing is I worked across diverse industries in my career, like FMCG, pharma, consulting, healthcare, engineering. So I have seen different leadership styles, different situations, and so on and so forth, which again I try to bring in my perspectives when I'm in coaching.
Right.
Third thing is my continuous learning. All over 40 years, I went on acquiring, skills. I keep on studying. That is something drives me, getting more knowledge. So that continued when I was in coaching. So I did my 3 certifications from coaching, ICF, CFI, and also Marshall Goldsmith, and also a couple of things. I did my emotional intelligence now. And so I'm able to bring a width and depth of perspective in my coaching assignments. last and not the least is, of course, about 30 leaders now, and I feel confident that I'll be able to add value.
How wonderful. And I'm sure you will.
Hmm.
My next question is about, people in our lives. And most of us have been, influenced by people in our life sometime or the other. My question is, how have you been shaped by people in your life, and how are they influencing you as a coach?
Yeah, I would mention four names here. The first one is my first boss at Unilever, the late Mr. Prakash Desai. Unilever is known for execution excellence, but even in that environment, he put people before tasks. And so that I learned that from him, and ability to be kind of a help and a guide rather than. So he had a coaching mindset, right? Which I realized later on when I became a coach. The second leader I would like to talk about is one Mr. Supratim Bose, who was a IVP Asia Pacific in Medical, Johnson & Johnson Medical, and he is now the global head of CMR, a robotics company. He is passionate about talent. He lives and breathes talent. And he had a simple motto: grow people, grow business. And his entire strategy is based on that. And he actually grew the business of Asia Pacific of Medical, Johnson & Johnson, from millions to billions in his tenure. And he has developed so many world leaders under him. And personally, too, he took a bet on me when I had no international experience, and he brought me in as a South Asia director and made me work. So believing in people and giving them support is what I learned from him. And next one is Anil George, my mentor from Unilever. So he taught me to be there for the long run. I mean, success is not short time. And second thing, that be ahead of the game. These are the people I would like to mention.
Wonderful. My next question is that how does the historical context in which you were raised impact your view of yourself, your clients, and your coaching?
Okay. I come from if you look at my father, he came in 1949 here in search of a job. He didn't even have a college education. So we come from a lower middle class kind of a background, right? So hard work and education was only two kind of lifeline to better this one. So that was the thing taught to us. My uncle was a prudent risk taker in the family, and he believed in me. So I went through that process of understanding what confidence is when you believe in another person, right? So in terms of bringing all these values into coaching, I believe that, everybody has a different background, thinks differently. Okay, everybody wants to do well. Nobody wants to fail. Everybody works on the resources and they have. The third thing is, people, if supported, can achieve. Okay. Fourth thing is there should be an action bias. I got bias for action. So unless you act, you cannot move forward. Okay. All the changes happen only when you manifest it as behavior. Right. So these are the few things which have come out from my background, which I bring into.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you. My next question to you, Venkatraman, is on culture. Culturally, we grow up in different families. Culturally, we are different in whichever society we come in, whichever business we work in. There's company culture. When you coach leaders, how conscious are you about the culture, and what is the impact culture has on your coaching?
Yeah, very interesting question. Culture is very significant impact in culture. So I'll talk about two elements of culture. One is between the coach and the coachee. Both of them come from different cultural backgrounds, and they have to be sensitive to each other. So the rapport and trust will build only if both of them are sensitive to each other. So those elements are the attitude towards authority, preference of communication, your own values and mindset, beliefs. All these have to be understood through the initial sessions, and then you build a rapport. That's number one. Number two, we should understand that leadership coaching happens in the context of the organization culture. So whatever we do, the action we take, we have to understand that it should be in sync with the organization culture, which again is determined by the reward and recognition systems. Okay, the openness and transparency, the conflict resolution. So these things are all there in the organization. So the coach and the coach will be clear that whatever change they want to bring in or whatever strategy they adopt has to be in sync with the organization culture. So the same solution in one organization will not work in the other organization.
Correct.
So that is the cultural impact.
Very interesting. I have time for two more questions for you. My next question is that, there are young leaders who are now the millennials and the Gen Zs, and there are senior leaders. I've often said that the millennials and the Gen Z leaders who are now coming into positions of authority in most businesses, have brought in a breath of fresh air into most organizations as compared to someone like me who's now 66 years old and started my life in 1979 after my MBA. As a coach, when you coach senior leaders, when I say senior means older leaders and younger leaders, what are the areas that you think the younger leaders need to be coached in?
Okay, younger leaders, essentially, if you say the younger leaders are, their experience comes with the experience is limited compared to senior leaders.
Correct.
Leadership styles are evolving, right? So, third thing is their scope of influence on the environment is limited as compared to senior leaders. And hence their leading others could be one theme. Okay. Second thing would be executive presence. Okay. Emotional intelligence, active listening. Okay. Those are the areas younger leaders will definitely be benefited by. So essentially the themes they follow are transitioning to a new job, being effective on the current job, okay, or getting ready for the future. These are the standard themes typically the younger leaders would benefit.
Correct. Well said. And my last question to you, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your incredible personal journey as a corporate leader over 4 decades, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away from your own journey and from our conversation?
Okay, the first lesson would be that success is a long-term endeavor. Yeah, there's no short-term success. And I'm talking about sustainable success, which is combined with happiness.
Correct.
So that is the first lesson. And the second lesson is invest in yourself. Nobody else is going to invest in you if you don't invest in yourself first.
Correct.
Okay. So investing in yourself is important. And the third lesson is seek varied experiences, because the leadership journey has got step changes where qualitative demands are on you, right? And only by having a varied experiences and putting your hand up for different experiences, you can gain that before the need comes in. So these are the 3 lessons I would.
Very, very nice. Thank you. And on that note, thank you so much for your wonderful lessons. Success is a long-term endeavor. Second, you said this: invest in yourself. No one else will do that. And third one is seek varied experience. And this is such a powerful input for most people, because when you go to multiple companies, you work for different bosses, you work for different functions, you come out as a much, much more richer human being.
Yes.
Thank you for talking to me about your own journey. Thank you for talking to me about so many different aspects of the role that you played as a CIO in so many different companies. Thank you also for speaking to me about so many different aspects of coaching and how you are actually giving back so much of your knowledge and experience to so many people who are benefiting from you as a coach. Thank you for speaking to me, Venkatraman, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.